Falling victim to one of these common scams in Rome can ruin your vacation in the Eternal City. Rome is one of the most visited cities in the world, so you might encounter some wrongdoers trying to make money with petty crimes. Usually, a bit of common sense is enough to avoid getting involved in these scams. Some happen in broad daylight, and getting out of them requires some cleverness. In any case, to avoid becoming a victim of scams, it is better to know them in advance. This video is precisely for this purpose. Watch it carefully and discover the most common scams in Rome and how to avoid them. And don't forget to follow this channel for interesting content for travelers from all over the world. Let's start with the first tourist trap. Fun. Line 64, the Pickpockets Express. On this public service line, which covers the most interesting routes in the city center with numerous stops between Piazza San Pietro and Termini Station, wallet and personal item thefts are recorded daily. Many passengers get on and off at every stop. So losing sight of your belongings in such chaos is not difficult at all. Sometimes it is also complicated to get offered. And among the crowd, it is not always possible to distinguish between an accidental shove and a theft attempt. How to avoid this situation? Never let your guard down and wear a money belt or pouch. Hop on, hop off tourist buses are a valid alternative. Safer, but also more expensive. 2. Requests for money for fuel. You meet an elegant gentleman who seems confused and lost and tells you he is not from the area and doesn't understand where he is. If you give him the time of day, he will tell you he works for a major company and will show you some samples he keeps in his car, insisting on giving you a watch or a jacket or a bag as a gift because you are now friends. At this point, he will point out that his tank is almost empty and he has run out of money and will ask you for a loan for a much higher value than the counterfeit items he has given you. How to avoid the scam? Traveling also means making friends with locals, but never forget common sense. 3. Fake charity petitions. This scam, like many others, is recorded around the most crowded streets and tourist spots. You might be approached by a deaf-mute person who proposes you sign an apparently authentic petition. They will then ask you for a generous donation in favor of the entity. In the worst case, the request is an attempt to distract you while their pickpocket accomplices are at work. How to avoid the scam? Refuse to give money.
Generally,
A firm no is enough to drive the scammer away. 4. Fake invitations to venues. Although it happens rarely, it can happen that some bars and venues trick tourists by inflating the bill exorbitantly, in the most striking cases even over $1,000. Around the main attractions, some people might offer you free tickets for entry to clubs or live shows aimed at young people. Others use the connoisseur approach, pointing out the chosen venue with a yes, I know it, this place is really worth it. In all probability, it is not. How to avoid the situation? Do not give too much trust and respond that you have other plans for the evening. You can also suggest a different venue you might already know to check how sincere the defense of the worthwhile place is. 5. Hakuna Matata and the friendship bracelets. Cheerful, friendly, and with a strong African accent. A guy greets you and places a colorful cord on your shoulder or insists on giving you a small souvenir. If you don't refuse decisively after a few attempts, the guy will show you how the friendship bracelet is woven directly on your wrist. At that point, he will tell you he has no money and ask for a generous donation in exchange for the gift. Getting rid of him is not so easy, and in some cases, it's another trick to distract you while an accomplice aims for your wallet. How to avoid this situation? Refuse any gift with a firm no, and try to move away as soon as possible. 6. Unauthorized taxi drivers. Normally, the taxi side displays a tariff that includes the cost of luggage and any supplements. Especially at the airport and train stations, some less honest taxi drivers might try to squeeze a few more euros from tired travelers by giving the wrong change, not activating the meter, or increasing rates during the weekend. How to avoid the situation? Keep cash handy to pay for the ride and use only white taxis with the Rome Capitale logo. Instead of trying to hail one on the street, use the taxi ranks located near the Colosseum, Trevi Fountain, and other main destinations. If in doubt, ask for explanations about the different meter amounts. 7. Tour packages proposed by touts. Around the Vatican, you will find many touts offering guided tour packages. They usually have higher than usual costs and offer tempting options, such as the ability to skip the line or have tea with the Pope. Be careful to avoid unpleasant surprises. Some even offer guided tours, but they are actually standard visits with long queues at the entrance or inside the attraction of interest. You might not be entitled to access some areas, as promised at the time of purchase. How to avoid the scam? Book the visit in advance or avoid relying on people who approach you while you are already in line. On some days, the wait to enter is not that long. 8. restaurants with low-quality tourist menus and high prices, as in every part of the world. In Rome, the restaurants and bars near the main attractions are touristy and tend to have higher prices. It is enough to move a little away to find more modest and welcoming places, often not necessarily well known, where you can enjoy excellent menus with seasonal products at a fair price. At the end of the meal, always check that the receipt is detailed and if the price seems excessive or there are dishes you did not order. Politely report the error. How to avoid these situations? At the entrance of the most touristy restaurants, you will usually find waiters inviting you in, perhaps showing a tourist menu translated into several languages.